You sign the check, skip the line, and step onto your own plane. No layovers, no strange elbows on your armrest, just the open sky. To understand the market you are actually entering, we can look at this ladder chart, categorizing the 6 distinct tiers of business jets. At the bottom, very light jets start around $3 million. But as you climb past mid-size and large cabin aircraft, that price tag scales exponentially, eventually hitting the VIP converted airliners that command well over $100 million. Notice the extreme separation here. The bottom rung and the top rung are separated by a gap of roughly $80 million. Most buyers picture the absolute peak of this market, but they can only justify purchasing at the lowest tier. In reality, the sticker price is the easiest part. It is merely the entry fee for a collection of ongoing bills that start the moment the sale is finalized. The exact second a brand new jet leaves the factory, it triggers a hidden cost that has absolutely nothing to do with flying. This graph tracks an aircraft's value over its lifespan, and it reveals a brutal reality. On an $80 million jet, you can expect a 10 to 15% plunge in year 1. That is up to $12 million completely erased in 12 months, before a single mechanical part breaks. The curve does flatten out in years 2 through 5, but smaller, highly popular light jets often lose a full third of their total value in just 5 years, simply because slightly newer models enter the market and dilute demand. Experienced buyers know this math, which is why they often refuse to buy new. Instead, they target aircraft that are 6 or 7 years old. By doing this, they bypass the steepest, most punishing part of the depreciation curve, while still securing a machine with 20 years of safe, airworthy life left in it. A private jet fails every definition of a financial investment. It is a depreciating asset you happen to sit inside, and the only variable is how quickly your money disappears. So the asset is actively bleeding value. Now we have to pay the massive recurring bills required to simply keep the aircraft sitting on the tarmac doing absolutely nothing. Storing your jet in a covered hangar at premium hubs like Van Nuys or Teterboro will run up to $100,000 a year. Then you add insurance, which scales aggressively based on the aircraft size and pilot experience, easily reaching $500,000 annually for larger airframes. You also have to pay a crew to be available. Employing 2 qualified pilots on standby means covering salaries, regular medical checks, and continuous training. That human infrastructure easily demands another $200,000 every year, whether you actually fly or not. Then there is maintenance. Federal regulations mandate deep structural inspections called C&D checks that can cost over $500,000. Even basic interior upkeep is heavily regulated. Replacing the carpets, updating the wireless internet, or refinishing this woodwork will cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to keep a decades-old design looking new. This leads buyers straight into the used jet illusion. They find a 10-year-old plane priced at half of its original cost and assume they have secured a massive 50. Add the hangar, the insurance, the crew, and the maintenance reserves together. You are looking at a ledger of $500,000 to over $1 million every single year, before the plane has moved an inch. And then you actually take off, triggering a brand new set of variable hourly costs. Every hour in the air burns thousands of dollars in fuel, landing fees, and engine wear. The most volatile variable is jet fuel, which is bought on a heavily exposed global market. A geopolitical conflict or a refinery shutdown can cause prices to rapidly spike overnight, completely destroying your operating margins for the entire year. To survive these operating costs, owners have to play defense. They hand their idle aircraft over to management companies to charter out to strangers, or they lean on the U.S. tax code, using bonus depreciation laws to deduct the entire purchase price against taxable income in a single year. If you want to know just how difficult this math is, look at how the world's most disciplined value investor handled it. Warren Buffett bought NetJets outright in the late 90s, taking on a massive fleet to sell fractional ownership of private aircraft. For years, NetJets lost Berkshire Hathaway money. The core problem was purely structural. Keeping a massive fleet airworthy required paying the enormous fixed costs of hangars, crews, and maintenance. When customer demand dipped, those fixed costs didn't budge. draining Berkshire's cash so rapidly that Buffett later admitted it nearly bankrupted the entire NetJets division. NetJets eventually stabilized under new leadership, but the structural difficulty was clear. If these economics can threaten to sink a division of Berkshire Hathaway, they are unforgiving to anyone without a massive balance sheet to lean on. Let's run the exact numbers side by side to find the threshold where buying a jet actually makes sense. We will start with the optimistic scenario, a highly active executive who buys a $20 million mid-size jet and flies it a grueling 300 hours a year. This ledger shows us how the volume equation works. By taking their $700,000 in annual fixed costs and dividing them across 300 hours of flight time, those costs are spread out efficiently. Add in the fuel, and their total real cost is roughly $5,300 per flight hour. Now look at the realistic scenario. A typical successful business owner buys the exact same jet, but flies a more standard, busy schedule of about 100 hours a year. The fixed costs of the hangar and crew are completely rigid. They do not drop just because you fly less. By compressing those same heavy bills into just 100 hours, their real cost per hour violently spikes to $10,000. And here is the trap. For those same 100 hours, that owner could have simply chartered someone else's jet for the exact same price. They paid a massive premium to deal with maintenance headaches and carried $20 million of depreciating risk on their balance sheet, and it didn't save them a single dime. Ultimately, a private jet functions as a high-stakes trade of capital for time. But unless an owner flies enough volume to outrun those rigid fixed costs, they are assuming $20 million of balance sheet risk for a service they could have simply rented by the hour.